Previously on Hobbies with Jose.
And as for what's coming up next, well, I'm too tired. I'm just gonna let the figure choose me. Whoever wants me, come and get me. What the hell?
And now the conclusion.
Oh God, what the hell? Oh, I'm back. I'm back! Well, hey, welcome back to Hobbies with Jose, everybody. So good to be back. I know it's taken me forever to get started with our new project. I mean, I did get the flu, I did get COVID, and I've had a bit of a creative rut. I don't know. It doesn't feel to me like the Triple RCs took that much out of me, but I've just had a hard time getting started with a new project. But we're going to do that today, and I am going to give you my thoughts on Transformers Legacy Cosmos, starting with the box. So Cosmos has the honor of being the first Legacy figure that I review, and it couldn't have happened to a better bot. He comes to us as part of the Velocitron Spidia 500 collection, which at first seems odd. I mean, it does include the likes of Blur and Override, and then you get to this little chunky fella, who does seem out of place. But hear me out, he is a spaceship, and if there's one thing spaceships have to do, is go fast. Although he is relegated to the position of flag bearer, yeah, we'll get to that. I think having Cosmos as part of a racing collection at the end of the day makes sense to me. I'm okay with it. The blue and purple color scheme for this package absolutely pops. And that artwork for bot and vehicle mode is just absolutely gorgeous. This captures the look of the bot mode exceedingly well in an awesome action pose. However, just to nitpick, the way that the gun is shown to attach to the spaceship, that's a bold-faced lie. Doesn't happen that way. And the way that the flag attaches to the gun, that's a complete fabrication. Two bold-faced lies. Thankfully, on the back, we do see what the figure actually looks like, or at least in computer renders. But it does look a little bit sparse with a lot of empty space above and below these shots. I'm a little surprised, but actually thankful that they do show you, in plain view, what kind of an arm gap you can expect. However, the way that the feet magically merge into one piece in spaceship mode, that's another bold-faced lie. Am I the asshole? I'm not an asshole, right? This is bad. Thankfully, though, they did decide to scrap that extra Autobot symbol on the feet. Would have been kind of redundant having them both just facing forward like that. And especially having them split up on Cosmos' feet, too. Overall, though, this box design is fantastic. And I'm especially excited that he's packaged in vehicle mode. And this vehicle mode really makes me feel like a kid again. I remember distinctly being a kid in the 80s, and although I never owned this figure specifically, my neighbor had almost every G1 figure available. So by default, he was my best friend. But holding the G1 figure in my hands and messing around with it, it really stood out to me. It wasn't a fancy sports car or a fighter jet or even a gun. Yeah, the 80s were crazy. This guy was just a chunky little UFO. And not even what you consider to be at that time a modern version of a UFO, all silver, nice and sleek. This guy is just a military green, kind of chunky, almost like a trash can in the middle. But there was always something heartwarming about the guy. This updated Legacy version firmly forces those rose-tinted glasses right onto your face. And I absolutely love it. Yeah, the proportions aren't exactly the same. The center section seems to stick up twice as high as the original one. But I don't know, that just adds to the chibbiness of it, and I love it. There's plenty of updated molded details like these little vents running along the sides. And the double shades of green help to add to the overall contrast of the figure. It is a bit odd that they added the silver section in the front though, but I can only guess because they originally intended to have the Autobot symbol that they wanted to recreate the look of the original toy. As I mentioned when talking about the box though, I'm glad they did away with that, as it really wasn't needed with the gorgeously sized Autobot symbol right on top. But I do like that extra bit of silver right on top, that looks good. Bottom of the vehicle isn't terrible, it is a bit cluttered with some robot bits, but at the very least it is nice and flat and nothing extends too far from the bottom, allowing you to properly place it on a flat surface. Now what does bother me is this loose flap on the back. It moves back and forth with the slightest of touch, and what I've determined to be the cause of the issue are these tabs on the sides. They don't seem nearly big enough. That's something I may be able to fix. And the only other issue I really have are the peg holes on the sides, as it's about the same issue I have with most other vehicle modes. Here though, they seem exceedingly large and they're sticking out quite a bit. LOL, that's what she said. Now I do know why they have to be that way. Since these sides are at an angle, these peg holes have to come out straight ahead. And that's of course to accommodate the weapon storage. Now, normally I have an issue with how the vehicle modes look with the weapons just pegged into them. But here, with the UFO mode looking sufficiently science fiction-y enough, having the gun out looks great. But now I really wish we had two of them. Sadly, he only comes with the one. But instead, he does come with the checkered flag. Yeah, that looks silly, right? Clearly that's not really meant for vehicle mode, so we'll show that off in a bit. But apart from that, there are some yellow sections sticking out from the inner workings of the legs, which I'm actually okay with as well. It's almost like a nice little callback to the G1 figure too. And of course, the subtle little hint of a head sticking out on top. That's what she said. Never mind. Well, let's get this little guy into bot mode and check out the full glory of Cosmos. Aw, look at this little guy. Look at him. He's so cute. Look at him. Now, of course, he's not as rotund or portly as he was in G1, but these updated proportions suit him quite well. He still has that nice round cylinder of a torso, nice wide angular round arms coming off the sides, and of course the bumblebee looking absolute clunkers of feet. This little guy is very well executed. While he does have that crimson Megatron in training bucket of a helmet and what seems like a gas mask type of design over his mouth, those eyes though, those eyes, they almost have a bit of a feminine design to them with the outsides pointing up. With the excellent paint in blue brings the whole thing together. Now of course there is a little bit of a consistency issue with the yellow parts. The legs of course are molded in yellow plastic, but the arms are molded in green with the yellow painted on top. I think the difference comes up more in video though, as in person, it's not that bad. And that same glorious Autobot symbol surrounded in silver and blue is now proudly displayed on his chest. Now, as cute as he is, he's not perfect. We've got some issues. We've got some issues here. He does have a bit of a backpack. It doesn't just stick out a little bit towards the back, the sides stick up quite a bit too. Thankfully though, from the front it's not as noticeable, as the pointy sections on the shoulders kind of make it blend in a bit. He does unfortunately have two bigger issues, one of them being the extremely loose shoulders, to the point where he can't really hold his arms up to the sides. I don't think it'll be that tough of a fix to correct, but it does suck that he comes that way out of the box. From what I hear, that's a pretty common issue too. And sadly, the other major issue is, once again, hollow arms. Now of course this is partly due to the fists having to fold into the arms for transformation. We've seen that happen plenty of times before. But what's so egregious about it this time is that even sections that would not get in the way of the fists are also hollow. The entire arm is hollow. It's astounding how bad that looks. Once again, we're almost forced to get a third-party arm filler, and thankfully, I found a pretty good set. Thankfully, it's designed in such a way that it blends in with the rest of the figure. That is much appreciated. And it also came with some leg filler sections too, also equally well designed. The final beauty of this filler kit is that it doesn't interfere with the transformation one bit, and it also looks great in UFO mode too. So that's one problem solved, and I'm pretty sure I can get those shoulders nice and snug as well. Speaking of snugness, the head sits on a very good ball joint, giving us an awesome range of side to side, forward and back, and of course 360. Shoulders can do a full 360, just have to steer clear of the backpack, and they can move out 90 degrees, but again, it's almost useless right now. Elbows have a nice 90-degree bend, and a full 360 rotation. Sadly, no wrist swivel, but the waist does have a full 360 rotation, again, just gotta steer clear of the back sections. Thankfully, the side skirts do move out of the way, allowing the full splits, and there's also complete forward and back leg movement, thigh rotation, 90 degrees at the knee, And lastly, there's no front and back movement on the feet, but a little bit of an ankle tilt. Now the included weapon is pretty nicely molded. There aren't too many hollow sections, mainly on the front of the gun, but that can be easily fixed. He does hold it very well in his fist, although it's gonna be hard to aim with those loose shoulders. What's most noticeable on the gun, of course, is the gaping hole in the middle, and that of course is the peg hole for the included checkered flag. And he looks great waving it proudly in the air. Don't think I'll get much use out of it myself, but it is nice that it's included. But all in all, Legacy Cosmos is such a welcomed addition to modern Transformers. Once again, these updated takes living up to the mini masterpiece name. If there really was a Masterpiece Cosmos announced, would I even get one at this point? Probably not, and that says a lot for this little figure that I can't recommend them enough. So those are my overall thoughts on Legacy Cosmos, and I couldn't be happier with this figure. Provided of course you have the third-party arm filler kit. It's almost a requirement for this guy. But I'm so glad we got him, and if you're able to find him, I know that's a big if. He was almost impossible to find since he was released. Once again, Grimmy, thank you so much for grabbing one for me, but if you're able to find him, I can't recommend him enough. I'm eager to see what we'll be able to do with a nice new coat of paint, and I hope you'll join me for that too. You can catch updates on the progress on my social medias, links are down below, and I'm still streaming on Twitch, which as of the release of this video, I've either already started or I'm about to start Transformers Devastation. And get yourself some merch too. And remember, if you like what you saw, you know what to do. I'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.